Nigeria a lot bigger next door to it. So a bit of national pride at stake here as well.
That's right, they've played each other 14 times, Nigeria and Benin. Nigeria have largely had the better of things, winning 10 out of the 14. Benin winning once. They've had 3 draws. That Benin victory came in the qualifying rounds for the 1990 African Nations Cup. But along the way, Benin have suffered 2 7-0 defeats. Doesn't look like, for the moment, they're going to concede 7 today. They're looking well organised against the Super Eagles.
Problem is that to qualify for the last 8, it's Benin that need to be the 7-0 victors, or at least 5.
Koch is asking a lot there of Udeze, and he won't get that. Approaching half an hour now, we're still goalless. 1 or 2 half chances for Nigeria, but for the most part, Benin coping very well.
Well, we had a 0-0 last night on Canal France International. Egypt against Cameroon. And I hope we don't get another one tonight.
Well, in general, we've seen quite a lot of goals so far in Tunisia. I had the pleasure of commentating Cameroon's 5-3 victory against Zimbabwe, which was a thrilling game. All credit to the Zimbabweans there for making that so exciting. Doesn't look like we're going to get 8 goals here tonight.
It's amazing what a goal does to a team's confidence, though. I thought Kenya had, well, blown their chances of getting a win, a point, a draw, or anything in this tournament. Then against Burkina Faso, 1 goal, and they look like a different team. Confidence just oozed from them.
But it's not easy to predict anything out here. The players have all been saying there are no longer any small teams in Africa. The last few days, we've seen that they're right. Nobody expected Algeria to lose to Zimbabwe. Algeria, who had beaten already Egypt, who'd held Cameroon to a draw, was stunned by the Warriors of Zimbabwe.
No one expected Rwanda to beat their giant neighbour, the Democratic Republic of Congo. But the Congo, Mick Wadsworth, DR Congo, the only team so far to go home pointless. Couldn't join them on that.
Look across Agahawa. Well, I think it hit the post.
Mayhem in the Benin defence. And it's still there.
It was Agahawa on the right wing causing real problems. Got past his man. And a dangerous cross that the defender deflected onto his own post, as far as I could see, to wait for the replay there.
And the pressure not over yet. Now Benin have the opportunity to bring it away.
They've got men in this attack, but well, it's played wide. The attack still on with Latunji.
Well, it's well played, Nigeria. Actually, all the action for a good minute or so was in the Benin penalty area, but they were quick enough to get back and clear the danger.
Yeah, it was against the post. It was Emmanuel, the Benin defender, almost putting into his own net there. And then all sorts of mayhem.
60 seconds of harem scarum in the Benin penalty area.
Now we have a Benin player who seems to have a problem. He's been taken off on a stretcher. It looks like Adjamossi, the left wing back. It's not Adjamossi. I'm wrong, because Adjamossi has the ball.
Is it Chris Sotami?
Yeah, I think it is. Damien Chrysostome, the central defender for Benin, plays in Italy for Padova. He's receiving treatment now. Benin carry on with 10 men.
And the chase is on. And the keeper hesitated. Nigeria have a corner.
Well, it was good, incisive defending there. It had to be. Aguwe stayed in his penalty area. It looked as though Agahawa was in. It was Seydaf Chomogo. Showed a good turn of pace. Chris Stone back on the pitch now. He's back to defend the corner.
It's very confident keeping. No punching this time. Clear catch.
Given away though to Olofinjana.
Given back again. Well, Nigeria playing a very patient game, but need to get better crosses from corners than we just had. I was looking for variation on their play then, but Okocha was hovering. The ball didn't come to him.
Well, for a team that has supposed hopes of lifting this trophy, Nigeria have hardly looked like potential champions so far today.
Yeah, one of the pre-tournament favourites, along with Mali, Senegal, Cameroon, obviously the host Tunisia. They've had to rebuild since that 1-0 defeat by Morocco.
Okocha with a good cross, punched. A chance now, and a goal!
Yes.
The flag stayed down, the goal is given. Nigeria have the lead.
That came from a terrific corner from Okocha. The ball swerved in, the keeper didn't know what to do with it. He mistimed his leap, and the ball was loose and rammed in the back of the net.
Yeah, it was Garba Lawal who has stabbed the ball home. Good chest control and a good finish. And Benin's resistance has been broken.
Now, will that signify the floodgates open? Well, Benin have to rebuild now.
They have an awkward 10 minutes now, Benin, to get through to half-time. Disappointing. Again, it could be described as a goalkeeping error, I think. He came, he punched, but it wasn't convincing.
Yeah, it's such a shame because the previous corner he made a good catch and again decided to punch. He was under pressure though. And now Nigeria again off on the break.
There's a good ball there from Kanu, but Chris Stone read it well.
Do Nigeria sense blood? They've got the bit between their teeth now. Piling up the pressure in these last 10 minutes of the first half. Yes.
It was a good break from Olofinjana, and it was Utaka in the end with the low shot wide.
I think Utaka didn't realise just how much time he had actually. Just took a snapshot and well wide. Nigerian crowd, ecstatic. It's all in the eyes.
If my calculations are correct, Nigeria would qualify with a 1-0 victory regardless of the score in the other Group D game today between South Africa and Morocco.
Just to remind you, you can see that game on Canal France International after this game. Okocha chasing some of a lost cause, and he's made it into anything but a lost cause. Smart play from Okocha. Great close control. He wins himself a throw-in. Replay of the goal. Now will Okocha make a long throw-in? Yes.
The keeper's come again. Far from convincing from the goalkeeper.
Not the case rather of once bitten, twice shy there. The keeper content to punch, causing all kinds of problems.
You sense now that Nigeria are going to take every opportunity, whether it's a throw-in, a free kick, just to throw it into the mixer, try and test out Aguwe. Here's Utaka for George Abbey. But when the Nigerians do get their tails up, there are very few teams in the world that can live with them. Just saw Okocha on the right wing showing a few of his tricks. And a second goal, I would say, for Nigeria would perhaps be the signal for JJ and friends to turn it on today.
Now Benin, they've just won a free kick, and they've got about 7 minutes to go to half-time. Last thing they want is another goal against them.
Very animated Cecil Jones on the bench, the Benin manager. An English speaker, Cecil Jones, he's Ghanaian. Most of the, well, all of the Benin players are French-speaking. Cecil Jones assures me that 70% of them understand English, and the other 30% have to go through his interpreter.
In his media release, Cecil is described as a devotee of Brazilian-style football. I think everyone would like to be. I don't see much evidence of that from Benin at the moment. However, there's a long time to go. It's not all over yet for Benin, but JJ Okocha is about to launch another corner into that Benin penalty area. Keeps it short. It's gone behind for a goal kick.
Yeah,
so,
good work, sorry, good work there from Kanu. Managed to just flick it over his shoulder.
Good variation there from Okocha as well. All the Benin defenders were reorganising themselves and didn't notice the quick corner. Kanu did though.
Once again, Omar Chomogo has been, well, he's looked lost really up front for Benin. He's had very, very little support. The service he's had has been very, very difficult, and the Gangom striker struggling to get a foothold in this game, really.
Reminds me very much of the Kenyan, the Kenyan player, Denis Oliek, Denis Jimenez, played a lone striking role. It wasn't until the game against Burkina Faso that he actually got to play with. Always surrounded by 2 or 3 players, except against that Burkina Faso defence. And once Kenya had got a goal, well, Dennis began to play with a lot of aplomb and confidence.
Well, Benin do have a potential partner for Chomogo in Muratala Ogunbayi, who played very, very well in the first match. Ogunbayi, Nigerian-born, plays his football in Nigeria. He'll be keen to get on the pitch here today. He actually picked up an injury in the first game, which is why he only featured it as a substitute in the second game. Here is Chomogo. Chomogo does well, and a good cross. Well, it was Wasiu coming in at the far post, almost a chance. Wasiu again fighting for the ball, but fouling Okoronko.
Well, a rare moment of opportunity for Benin. The ball was bobbling around in the Nigerian defence. They eventually regained order.
But again, that was a perfect example of what we were saying. Chomogo was on the left wing. Curled a lovely cross into the box, but there wasn't really a striker. There was Wasu, who was coming in from deep, but no support for Chomogo.
Look at that pass from Okocha, and Kanu just wide. Beautiful build up there from JJ Okocha. He had a good few seconds of total freedom and just picked his pass.
Kanu might have been better going for that with his left foot. Difficult to get a right-footed shot on target from there, but struggling to get goals these days, Kanu. Latunji. Adjumosi's made a good run. Frustrated that Latunji ignored him. Well, you just get the feeling, Roy, that Benin are going to have to take a slightly more positive approach in the second half.
I was just thinking, you can see 1 or 2 players with slumped shoulders out there for Benin and just walking around instead of putting any pressure on the Nigerians.
If you watch Chomogo venture forward, you've got the 4 Benin defenders hanging back on the halfway line. The midfielders showing no real effort to get forward and support Chomogo. Obviously keen not to concede a second goal, but the more Benin sit back and try and soak up Nigeria pressure, the more trouble they could be in after the break.
Yeah, what Nigeria have got to think about really is winning the game first and winning by a lot, because in the eventuality that Morocco actually lose to South Africa, then a lot of goals would put Nigeria top of the group, and obviously, or theoretically, a somewhat easier game in the quarterfinals. They've got to score a lot of goals, remember, though, because Morocco have that 5-0 goal difference at the moment.
Well, it is important because Cameroon were the winners of Group C, so they will play the second-place team in Group D. The winners of Group D will take on Algeria, who finished second in Group C, so the group winners will avoid the favourites Cameroon, which is a real incentive. So watch Kanu on the left wing. Good turn from Kanu. Emmanuel sticks to his task though. Takes the ball off the Arsenal man in the end.
Kanu's definitely having a frustrating tournament. 2-3 years ago, he got that ball across, beating his man, and who knows, so far in this game, he's just put a couple of shots wide. Mind you, he keeps running, he's making space for other players.
Well, he's certainly contributing, Kanu, but people know what he's capable of, and if he's not doing wonderful turns and showing his tricks and scoring wonder goals, people generally are disappointed with him, and here he is again on the left wing.
Yeah, the element of surprise has gone from his game, really, hasn't it?
Kanu, like Okocha, is out of contract with his club in the summer. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger has been hinting that he will offer him a new deal after seeing Kanu play some nice cameo roles this season.
But do you think Kanu will be content to play supplementary roles in competitions like the World Cup and coming on as an occasional sub in the Premier League?
I think, in all honesty, Kanu will be leaving Arsenal this summer. I think Arsenal and Arsene Wenger are looking to bring in some young blood up front, and Kanu, he's had a long time. He's been there for 6 years already.
Any speculation on where you think he might go? Might he do a Teddy Sheringham and go to a team like Portsmouth, but need a veteran?
Well, it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see Kanu play for a club in the Premiership, perhaps not a top club, not an Arsenal, Manchester United or Chelsea, but a club where he's guaranteed to start every game. Because I believe Kanu is capable of scoring 15 or 20 goals in a season in England. But at Arsenal, he doesn't get the regular football.
Well, every player goes through a bad patch, don't they? And players need the time on the pitch. They need playing time and to stay sharp, basically. And there's a sharp pass from Okocha.
Agahawa waiting for support, finding Olofinjana, back to George Abbey.
So the 45 is up. We're in the 2nd minute of additional time. The score is 1-0. Nigeria lead against Benin. And remember, this for a place in the quarterfinals of the African Nations Cup here in Tunisia.
Latunji looking to flick on for Chomogo, the captain, but Chomogo not reading the ball. He cuts a frustrated figure at the moment, Omar Chomogo. Would dearly love to take a goal back with him to Benin.
Well, there's the referee's whistle for half-time in this Group D game. Nigeria lead Benin 1-0. It's all gone to script so far. Nigeria, they put constant pressure upon Benin. They got, well, let's call it a somewhat scrappy goal. It came from a corner and the Benin keeper punched it. His defence failed to get it clear, and it was rammed home by Garba Laval.
Yeah, as we expected. I think Nigeria struggled to impress for the first half an hour. They didn't really create too many chances, but the pressure started to mount, and in the end, that one goal, I think, a deserved lead, and Benin are going to have to come out and they're going to have to show a little bit more in this second half, or they could be on the end of another drubbing here.
So 1-0 here in Sfax. It's half-time, and we'll take the entire second half. Join us then. Nigeria, they got themselves into a huddle. They know the task ahead of them. And by contrast, Benin, they strolled out and no one was really looking at each other, and a few shoulders slumped. And Nigeria, their target is obvious.
Well, Benin need at least 6 goals by our calculations, and they need a South Africa defeat in order to progress. So they are looking really realistically to get some pride here. A goal, perhaps a point, perhaps 3 points. Certainly a goal.
Yeah, a goal would lift their spirits enormously and just sow the seeds of doubt in the minds of the Nigerians.
Now Benin on the attack, but overhit ball there, and Emmanuel won't get that. You have to give credit. You have to remember that this is Benin's first ever appearance in the African Cup of Nations, and it's fantastic that they got here. They qualified at the expense of Zambia, who traditionally a force in African football, and it's fantastic for the country Benin to see the Squirrels out here in Tunisia. Taka switch flanks here.
Good place there from Ataka, but eventually ran into too many defenders.
The key for me to a Benin recovery is that the midfielders get up and support Omar Chomogo. Talking about Wasiu, Latunji, perhaps Okitula as well. In the first half, they played very defensively, rarely ventured into the Nigeria half, and Chomogo, well, he's not going to do it on his own.
Yeah, I keep harping back to that Rwanda game, and when they needed a goal desperately, the coach put 4 strikers on, so the message is there. The lone striker for Benin does need some support. Unfortunately, sadly, that leaves the back wide open.
I'm not sure Benin have picked 4 strikers in their squad, to be honest. As I said, Ogunbayi, hopefully, in terms of a spectacle, we'll get on in the second half, because he's a lively player. He's got a lot to prove. He was disappointed that Nigeria ignored him for national team selection. He plays his football for Enyimba. He's qualified to play for Benin, so eventually decided he would represent the Squirrels out here in Tunisia. So far, though, Ogunbayi on the bench. Unclear how serious his injury is, so if he is half fit, he will probably get a run here today. Now, Benin on the attack with Wasiu, crosses.
Just failed to control at the key moment there. And all that came about from a few moments of sloppy play from Nigeria. Now here's Okocha, midfield. And who again loses the ball. Surrounded by 2 players. Didn't have the control to lay it off.
The pressure on Kanu, of course, all the greater for the fact that Ayegbeni and Agali, 2 strikers, have been sent home. It really limits Nigeria's options in attack. Some rumours that Kanu is carrying a knee injury. He went off in the last game and had ice on his knee. He's had problems this season.
He's been subbed up in both games, hasn't he, Matthew?
He has.
Maybe a case of old injuries catching up with him. May even be a case of age catching up with him as well.
Yeah, it seems such a long time ago that Nwankwo Kanu lifted the Champions League with Ajax as a 17-year-old. Crossed in for Agahawa. But Chomogo wins it in the air. And the band away to our left continue to beat away on their drums and trying to set a rhythm for the players, perhaps.
Just to repeat, the Tunisians have done a wonderful job packing this stadium out. Actually, you see 1 or 2 empty spaces that weren't there in the first half, so I assume it's just a case of people not having returned to their seats after the break. The place was full during the first half.
thought we might be getting some rain this evening. There were certainly some heavy clouds hanging over us, but fairly fresh evening, but no signs of rain yet.
Now that's better from Kanu. Kept possession very well, but the foul gives Benin possession.
Well, as long as Tunisia stay in the competition, I think we can be guaranteed a lot of interest in this country. So far, Tunisians have looked pretty impressive in their 3 matches.
Yeah, talking about Tunisia, of course, they one of the 4 or 5 countries bidding for the 2010 World Cup, and you can see around the ground several boards: Morocco, South Africa, Egypt, and a joint bid from Tunisia and Libya. We understand that there's been a late bid put in by Senegal as well.
That's right, and the organisation of this tournament will certainly go some way to influencing Tunisia's chances. It's been well organised, but I just feel that they'll need to do a lot of work in terms of the stadium and the roads in Tunisia if they want to host a tournament of such size.
Yeah, I'll fully endorse that, Matthew. I was frightened to death last night coming down here to Sfax on that single carriageway road. We actually saw an overturned car just in front of us as well, and well, that has to be made into a motorway if Tunisia are going to stand any chance of staging such a prestigious tournament in only 6 years' time. You know, just got an injured player here, and Nigeria have a free kick, which is well within range of the man with the ball at the moment, Austin Okocha.
Well, he's licking his lips here, Okocha. He's just asked for the ball to be changed. He felt that ball was a bit flat, and he wants the perfect ball for this free kick. As we watch Ahueya being stretchered off, the Mogas 90 midfielder.
And JJ wants it placed perfectly. I'll say it once, it's a good line. JJ Okocha, so good they nicknamed him twice. Now, this is a very similar position to the free kick where he scored the 5th goal against Aston Villa in the World Cup final with the outside of his foot. Well, not this time, JJ.
No, he didn't quite catch that one. He's shrugging his shoulders there. He's a bit frustrated by that. He knew that was a chance. That's right, it was 2 free kicks that Okocha scored. The second for Bolton, apparently a goal of the season contender.
Well, the first was good as well. Kept the keeper, caught the keeper napping, and floated it over the wall and bounced it in.
Well, I tell you, Sam Allardyce will be one man who would not be too disappointed if Nigeria got eliminated in the first phase. Just to be careful here, Chrysostom.
Well, the most nervous man on the pitch then was the Benin keeper, Agwe. He came, he went, he dithered. Eventually, they didn't need him.
This is Samuel.
Well covered there by Okaronko. Came across and snuffed out the danger.
Slightly better though from Benin. They're showing signs of, as we watch Agahawa.
Bit of class there from Kanu, the back heel, but the scuffed shot eventually.
Yeah, Benin showing signs of committing a few more men forward here. It's leaving Agahawa and Kanu with a little more space.
Yeah, they have no option, do they, Benin? They have to push more men forwards now. And that should make it a much more open game. Kanu trying to drag his man out to the left wing. He goes inside again.
Slightly hopeful pass though from Olafinjana.
Yeah, a bit of a late tackle there from the goal scorer, Garba Laval.
Foul there on Samuel Emmanuel, who's starting his first game of the tournament. He plays his football for Liberty Professionals in Ghana. I dare say that was Some expert knowledge from Cecil Jones, Benin's Ghanaian coach, who discovered Emmanuel. Cecil Jones, the only Ghanaian out here in Tunisia, or the only Ghanaian involved in the tournament in any case.
All gone wrong for Ghana recently, hasn't it? They were eliminated by Rwanda. Missed out on an opportunity to play in these finals, and Rwanda came instead of them.
Well, interestingly enough, it all started to go wrong for Ghana when they sacked Cecil Jones in 2001.
And here he is, hoping to make a point of it.
Now here's a good break. It's Olaf Njana, whose cross was cut out there. Well, I think there is something deep down. Cecil Jones feels he's got a point to prove to the Ghanaian public. He wasn't happy with the way the federation were organising things, and in the end, the dispute became heated and he was dismissed. That's a good header on for Chomogo. Chomogo forced wide, but a good shot.
Well, that's the best opportunity Benin have had, and they made the keeper work for it. Now Kanu chasing a hopeless cause, and he gets a corner.
Well, the first real glimpse there of Chomogo. He had the pace to get down that right channel, and a good snapshot. The goalkeeper Enyama took at the second attempt. It's Nigeria we're watching on the attack now, though. JJ Okocha to take this corner on the right. Just a warning sign, though, for the Super Eagles. It's a good play from Adjumossi. Latunji.
Yeah, going back to African federations and Ghanaian Federation in particular, Matthew, seems to be a trait in African federations. They administrative problems, obviously money problems as well, and the feeling is that just by throwing money at football in Africa isn't going to solve the problem. There's so many political problems and personality clashes and problems from all over the place, anything but football. If they could get that sorted out and just play football, then the African nations could...
Utaka!
Oh! Mid-sentence there I stopped because the ball just whizzed past the left-hand post, through the player's legs, and the keeper just got a touch.
He did. That should have been a corner, in fact.
Well, the referee doesn't have the benefit of a replay, but clearly the keeper just got the faintest of touches.
Yeah, that could have crept in. Credit to Agüe. Well, I think you're right, and it's difficult really for these African countries. They don't seem to get any stability. Managers rarely seem to hang around for more than a year or two. Interestingly enough, the Nigeria coach, Christian Chukwu, was the assistant manager in 1994 when Nigeria won the African Nations Cup in Tunisia. And since his departure in '94, Nigeria have had no fewer than 12 managers.
Great play there from Kanu, kept control with 3 players pressurizing him. And now a period of possession for Nigeria, looking for the probing pass, but they give the ball away.
Adjumossi, he's trying to push forward as much as possible now. Good ball for Chomogo, but Chomogo couldn't get inside Yobo there. It looks like Adjumossi is going to be a key to Benin if they're going to get back into this game. The left wing back loves to get forward. Utaka. Okocha.
Oh, the ball just bounced up at the last moment. But how did he get a shot out of that? A left foot shot from Okocha. Well, the quick strike, and all that came from the Nigerian keeper, Enyima, going route 1. Straight down the middle. Nigeria chased it and got a pretty reasonable shot out of it.
Yeah, it was a drop of the shoulder there that just left Jonas Oketula. Made the space for Okocha. Of course, he can hit them with either foot, which is what makes him so dangerous. He's such a balanced player. Now Latunji spreads it wide for Emmanuel.
Yeah, just going back to that point we were making about the federations, Matthew, it's such a pity as well, because some of the quality coaching that the African nations get now, you know, it really does make it even more such a pity that the federations, not all of them, but some of the federations can't get their act together. Why waste such good coaching talent with
That's right.
administrative problems?
That's right. We had Sunday Marimo on Canal France International for the last Benin match, in fact. We watched this free kick played into the box by Emmanuel, but it's easily cleared. Sunday Marimo, in fact, this was before Zimbabwe beat Algeria, was just saying that people in Zimbabwe are already talking about perhaps replacing him, and that despite the fact that Zimbabwe had played very well against Cameroon and against Egypt, 2 defeats, but they could easily have got something from the Egypt game, and they gave Cameroon a real scare as well. And Marimo is so respected by the players, he's respected by the journalists, but already he's concerned.
Well, everybody missed that then, and the ball eventually hasn't gone out, so still there's a cross to be made. But eventually the ball is just played harmlessly into the keeper. Well, if Zimbabwe do sack their coach, then that will be a travesty, a real travesty, because they performed admirably out here. That 5-3 defeat was a terrific game. They scored 2 terrific goals and got a good penalty as well against a very, very good side. And, obviously very well coached, very motivated. And I find that incredible that they're thinking about sacking.
Now here is Wasiu, the cross. Well, it's perhaps not our players to say they're thinking about sacking him, but just the fact that Marimo has a concern.
Yeah.
For his sake, you would have to hope that that victory over Algeria will inspire a bit more confidence in him, because if Zimbabwe did have some stability, they could certainly go places. Benin, absolutely the same thing. They've shown some talent in this competition. They haven't scored a goal yet.
Oh, nice turn by Okocha. And the pass with the outside of the right foot. Kanu trying to wheel and deal, puts his hands on his head rather.
Exquisite pass again from Okocha, outside of the right foot, inch perfect. I don't think many would argue with CAF's decision to award JJ Okocha with the Player of the Year award.
No, Eto Fils has disappointed a few people out here. He was considered as well, but to my mind, absolutely no argument about Okocha.
Here he is again.
Speaking of whom?
Well, the tournament's not over yet for Samuel Eto Fils, so reserve judgment. If he goes and gets a hat-trick in the final, then... But so far, you're right, Roy. Samuel Eto has struggled really to make a big impact. Yet to score his first goal.
Now, Benin have a free kick well within range. Let's have a look at the replay. Oh, this is Okocha. Such a dangerous player. Left foot, right foot, they all come the same to him. And now, who's this player down for Benin?
Ahuya down.
And it's only 21, 22 meters out, so good opportunity for Benin to open their account.
Absolutely, and as we were saying just before the second half started, the longer it does stay at 1-0, the game's still on, and who's to say Nigeria won't get a few nerves? Chomogo will probably be the favourite here. Latunji standing over it, but Chomogo's taking a long run up. Here he comes. Oh! Well, a fitting strike there from Omar Chomogo, straight at the keeper, either side, and it would have been interesting.
Stung his hands, but straight at him. And I reckon that's the closest Benin have come.
It's been that man, Omar Chomogo, who's had both their efforts on target.
And they've got another free kick. Yeah, just to repeat that the other game in this group, Morocco against South Africa, you can see it on Canal France International after this. That's gone for a corner. That game is actually being played at the same time as this. We don't know the score at the moment, and I'm just looking down at both benches to see whether they are in contact with that other game. But you can see that game in its entirety on Canal France International when this game, Nigeria against Benin, is concluded.
Now an interesting substitution here, Roy. Nigeria are taking off Julius Agahawa, and they're bringing on the young forward, Odem Wingi. Odem Wingi scored 2 goals in Nigeria's last game against South Africa. 2 pretty impressive goals, it should be said, and he's an exciting young player, as we see. It's Odem Wingi, in fact, picking up a yellow card. So that's his first contribution.
What's that, 3 seconds on the pitch?
He's been on for 3 seconds, and he's already taken out the Benin player, Samuel Emmanuel.
Well, that could have been close to a world record had that been a red card then. But a yellow card after 3 or 4 seconds, wow. And Benin have had a succession of free kicks.
Seems a shame to have Chamogo taking the free kicks all the way out on the wing here when he's the man they need in the middle, really.
Yeah, they need his presence in there, don't they? Big lad. Need to get the ball inside to him. Instead of which they lose the ball. And so do Nigeria.
Emmanuel in for Wasiu. Bit scrappy, but Emmanuel gets it back. Now Okocha.
Oh.
Or was that an arm? Seems to cut that out with his shoulder, I think. Benefit of the doubt from the referee.
Such vision from Okocha as well. The winger was flying. Nearly found him. Now Nigeria have a break on.
Now Odem Wingi is clear.
No foul, clearly indicated by the referee. Says, told the player to get up. Brad didn't appreciate that.
Well, you just sense that Benin taking more chances now. They're leaving gaps. Odem Wingi looking for Kanu in the box, but it's blocked there.
Kanu waiting in the middle, and here we see a replay of that. Well, all ball, I reckon. Just about.
Christoph Stone, the defender. Another of Benin's young backline who have equipped themselves well. Most of this Benin defence are teenagers, and if they can stay together, if they can qualify for successive African Nations Cups, you sense that in 6 or 8 years, they could have quite a good defensive unit there.
Well, Benin, in the last 5 minutes, they've had 3 or 4 players knocked over, tripped, injured somehow. Maybe a case of them getting tired. But a lot of Benin was hitting the deck.
Yeah, well, they're down to 10 for the time being. Nigeria build on the right.
Shame Kanu waiting on the penalty spot for a cross, which never came.
Well, Odem Wingi, the substitute, who's already made an impression by getting booked, as we see one of Nigeria's more colourful supporters. A brave man going without a shirt today.
I can tell you this is the coldest day we've had in about 4 or 5, and doing very well without his shirt there. The odd Caucasian supporter of Nigeria.
I was saying the substitute Odem Wingi, who managed to get booked in the first few seconds. After coming on, he's an exciting young player. He plays in Belgium for La Louvière, and he showed just how talented he is when he came on against South Africa. Christian Chukwu, the Nigeria coach, will be hoping to see more of that from him, particularly with Kanu and Agahawa, the only other 2 recognised strikers.
Just to go back to Coach Chukwu, again, another indication of the instability in African football. We almost had a situation where former England player, England captain, I think. Brian Robson almost turned out as a coach to Nigeria. The terms of his contract weren't exactly to his liking, so eventually it didn't happen. But
there's Kanu. Good defending though. Half a chance for Nwankwo Kanu.
Well, Kanu only needs a sniff of a sight of goal and turns and gets a corner. Another substitution here for Benin.
Yeah, Sylvain Remy's coming on. He's a hard-working midfield player. Now, the reason for the change was an injury. So watch Benin defend this set play. Yobo wide to Lawal. Should be the keepers. It's over the bar.
You know, that's about the second or third corner that JJ Okocha's had from that side of the pitch. I'm amazed he doesn't curl it in with his left foot. He seems to me to be just as good with his left or his right, but he uses his right foot no matter what side of the pitch he's on. He had an out-swinging corner there, and the in-swinging corners he was throwing in the first half were far more dangerous. That's where the goal came from.
Well, some players, even two-footed players like Okocha, just aren't comfortable with dead ball situations, taking it with their other foot. But I imagine if he worked a little bit in training, he could certainly do it without any trouble. Now, just confirmation of the substitution. Going off is Saidath Chomogo. He looks to have picked up quite a nasty injury there. He's hobbled off. Sylvain Remy has come on. It looks like Benin might be going to 4 at the back now. They have to take a few chances if they're going to get that goal and that point that they so crave.
Well, they have under 20 minutes to do it. So if the score stays the same, Nigeria go through, and Benin go home pointless. Now the assistant referee seems to have signalled corner there. It's another Nigeria corner. JJ Okocha to take it. And they take it short. Well, a planned move that failed to come off.
Again, I'm somewhat surprised that they've taken the corner short as we watch Utaka fighting for it, because the goalkeeper Agwe showed his vulnerability in the first half, and I expected Nigeria really to pepper his 6-yard area with crosses. They've not done it.
No, he's not had any crosses to deal with in this second half. He's not had to make a decision on whether to catch or punch. Here's Kanu, steals the ball. Oh, great body from Kanu. Deceived his man with a body swerve. Kanu again. Yeah, very skillfully drew the foul.
Emmanuel, the Benin right wing back, just showing his frustration there. He needed to be a bit more patient. Given another free kick away, this again could be dangerous as Benin prepare a substitution.
Now this free kick is precisely the spot where JJ Okocha scored against Aston Villa in the semi-final first leg of the Worthington Cup. He bent it in inside the left-hand post with the outside of his right foot. Looks to me to be lining up for a cross here, though.
Meanwhile, Mustafa has come on for Benin to replace Wasiu.
Well, there's a curling shot, really, with the possibility of a cross with someone getting a touch on it.
Credit to the goalkeeper there. He was a bit more decisive and he got a much better punch on the ball. So Mustafa, the number 13, coming on, and he'll try and provide some support to those forwards.
Isaac Okoronkwo is absolutely commanding the middle of that defence there. He's had the last 3 balls have gone to him and he's won them on persistence, basically. Kocher tries to lay the ball off.
Well, I think Okoronkwo is gaining in confidence, and like I said, he hasn't played hardly any football really at Wolves this season, and he's a quality player.
Here's Kanu again. The drag back. Well,
It's a goal. It's a gift for Nigeria. Benin trying to dribble the ball out of their own 6-yard area, and John Utaka makes it Nigeria 2, Benin 0. The Super Eagles are going to the quarterfinals.
That was a disaster for Benin. What on earth were they thinking about? They could have cleared it 3 or 4 times and then eventually tried to dribble it out, lost the ball, and the easiest of goals for Utaka. Well, all 11 Benin players, they're looking at the floor in disgust. They know they really should have got rid of that ball ages ago.
Well, sadly, that was amateurish defending.
Here we go, and there's the attempted dribble, and thank you very much. The ball's in the back of the net.
Well, what a shame. It was Adjamossi, the left wing back that I've been singing the praises of. He's had a very good tournament, but if he's remembered for that.
Well, all credit to Utaka. He put the pressure on, but it was just too easy, really.
Yeah, he showed good composure, Utaka, but he's a quality player, and you give someone like that a gift like that, he won't say no. It was at about that time that Morocco scored their second goal, and like you said, the body language of these Benin players, their heads have hung low there. And there's just a danger now that Nigeria could run away with this one. 15 minutes remain.
Well, it's now the time for Coach Christian Chukwu just to make a couple of substitutions just in case. Just to protect a couple of players, you never know. The last thing Nigeria want to do is pick up an injury now or even a red card. Can't see that happening, but just to protect 1 or 2 key players. The game, the qualification is more or less certain now. And with, well, 12.5 minutes to go, perhaps we'll see a few substitutions now.
Nigeria have 2 players, in fact, who have...
And there's an injured player. I wasn't being prophetic then.
Yeah, Nigeria have 2 players, I was saying, who've picked up yellow cards already in this tournament. One of them is Agahawa. Perhaps that's one of the reasons Agahawa was taken off. The other one is Joseph Yobo. Probably will want to keep the Everton defender on the pitch for the last 12 minutes or so.
Here's Okocha with the corner. And this time Benin do a good job of getting it out of the danger area. Okocha with the throw in as well. Remember, Nigeria lost their opening game to Morocco, and they beat South Africa comfortably 4-0. They're 2-0 up here with a goal difference 6-4 and 1 against. Ball is pinged into the middle again, and at the moment it's all Nigeria.
The Super Eagles, who look set to go through now, they'll play either Cameroon or Algeria in the quarterfinals. That all depends on Morocco's result against South Africa. Certainly Nigeria against Cameroon would be quite a tie. A repeat of the final in 2000.
There's Kanu. Everybody on the ground thought Okocha was going to shoot then. And it's showtime almost for Okocha and Nigeria.
It's a great cross. It's a great cross from Odemwingie. George Abbey, the right back, had got into the box.
And the goalmouth beckoned. What a great cross and just misdirected. Well, golden opportunity to make it 3.
Yeah, Abbey, he is a defender. by trade, and he showed why there, really. He should have buried it.
So the confidence is now absolutely oozing out of every pore of the Nigerian players. Running the show, doing virtually what they want, and Benin playing for pride.
Well, it would be a shame for the Benin players if they folded in these last 10 minutes. 2-0 against Nigeria is nothing to be ashamed of. They obviously would have hoped for more, but we're watching Nigeria attacking once more. Here's Latunji. Can Benin give something to their supporters back home to remember from this tournament?
And Nigeria want more, putting a lot of pressure on just about every pass that the Benin was trying to make. And you can just sense the danger for Benin now. They could collapse in these last 9 minutes or so. As you say, Matthew, that would be a shame because they put up a gallant performance here, in fact, in the whole tournament.
They have, and they do look set to go home. Oh, here we go. No, almost a chance for Chimogo, but his touch was too heavy. First sign there that Chimogo could get free through the middle, past Yobo. Yeah, Benin looked likely to go home with 0 points, like the Democratic Republic of Congo. But it's all a learning experience for Benin.
Again, just to repeat, here in their first African Nations Cup tournament. They've certainly not disgraced themselves. And who knows, maybe just a consolation goal here for them. But not with a cross like that.
Well, playing in a tournament that's got such a high profile as the African Nations Cup tells the rest of the world that Benin are here and they are a footballing nation. Now there are players, certain players who play in Europe who have Benin heritage. Sidney Govou for one. He plays for France now, but who knows, if Benin had been playing African Nations Cup football a few years ago, Govou could be playing for Benin right now. And if they can attract those sort of players, if they can develop more homegrown talent, this team is very, very young, remember. And perhaps in the years to come, Benin will be competing and beating teams like Nigeria. They've competed today, but they're not going to beat them. Here is Odem Wingi away on the right. He looked for Kanu at the near post, but a groan to my left from Roy tells its own story.
And a groan from Kanu as well. Just looked down at the floor. He was on the penalty spot almost, and the ball sailed over his head.
Now the goal scorer, John Utaka, is coming off. We're going to see Pius Ikedia. As predicted, Nigeria taking no chances. Utaka getting a rest. He's a key man if they're going to go a long way in this tournament, Utaka. Normally plays up front for his club Lens, but he's been asked to play more of a roving midfield role out here, and he's played very well so far. Okoronkwo back to Enyeyama. Now, is there still time for a bit of magic from Africa's Player of the Year, JJ Okocha? At the moment, Benin have the ball.
Well, Okocha just got sold short on that pass. That was almost a hospital pass.
Seems to have moved further forward now, Okocha, almost as if he's hungry to show the public here just what he can do.
Another man desperate to show the African public what he can do. Kanu, he just seems to be walking around aimlessly at the moment to me. I think his body language says he's still thinking about that cross that didn't come a few moments ago, and that, well down by the keeper, was actually going wide, but still didn't take any chances.
Yep, Kanu just ambling about really out there. This is the first game that he will have played the 90 minutes. It certainly looks like he's going to play the 90 minutes. Not exerting too much energy right now. Emmanuel in for Chomogo, who loses out. Latunji though. Okocha just nips it off him. Kedia to Okocha.
A cheeky back heel there from Okocha.
Well, this man, JJ Okocha, he's the player that people pay their money to watch. The ball for Kanu there, but the flag is up.
Kanu just looking towards the bench there. Perhaps expecting a substitution. Clearly offside there. Two people, in fact.
Yeah, Nigeria have only made 2 changes, and it looks like they're going to make a third, with Kanu the likely player to come off.
I think I saw his hand go up about 5 minutes ago, actually, Matthew, asking for a substitution. I think he's actually tired at the pace he's playing the game at the moment. I think he's desperate for a substitution.
Yeah.
Played. And Yima made it his.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, again, if Kanu's feeling some discomfort in his knee, because he's been carrying this injury for a long time as we watch Odem Wingi.
That was a great run from him, beat the offside trap. And here's Okocha again, running the show.
You just sense that JJ Okocha might have a part to play in this tournament. In the latter stages, perhaps.
Yeah, he's only scored from the penalty spot so far, but I'm sure there is a lot more to come from him. Here he is again. On occasion, the trickery didn't work. Oh, well played the keeper this time. Decisive. Well, a mistake, but Nigeria have men back to recover.
They have to keep their concentration, Nigeria. 2-0 would be good enough to go top of the group should Morocco lose against South Africa. We'll have details after the game. The South Africa-Morocco game. At the moment, though, Nigeria looks certain to go through in either first or second place. And in fact, it's not Kanu coming off.
He doesn't look too happy about that either in the centre circle. Hands on hips. And we have a Benin player. Another Benin player down injured. Here's Okocha just trying to work his magic. I can't quite see who the injured player is for Benin.
Well, Kanu's walking over to the touchline here. He's asking for water. Thought he might be asking if he could have a bit of a rest. He's obviously okay, or he would have been substituted. Instead, it was Olofinjana who's come off.
The coach demanding 90 minutes of effort. Plus additional minutes.
Signal already for 3 minutes. We haven't reached the end of the 90 yet. But as the game comes to a close, Roy, do you think Nigeria have shown today that they could well be potential champions, or how have you seen the game?
Well, I think losing 1-0 to Morocco was their wake-up call. They've been a different team since then. And I don't think it was because they were playing lesser opposition. I think South Africa and Benin have both given them good games, and they stood the test. The only thing that could possibly detract from much further progress in the tournament for Nigeria is now the fact they are 3 men light on the squad. So they daren't pick up any injuries or red cards. Even little niggling injuries could hurt them. But yeah, I think you're right. They could go a long way in this tournament.
Well, that's the point that both Okocha and Yobo have made. They're not too happy about the fact that 3 of their teammates were sent home. And so we watch this long throw into the box. And a goal! And Benin have got their goal!
Fully deserved.
And finally, the people of Benin have something to smile about at home. They've scored their first ever goal in the African Nations Cup final, and a gigantic throw in there. I think that took Nigeria by surprise.
And I'll tell you what, Matthew, there's still 3 additional minutes. So, were we speaking too soon?
Well,
if Benin could sneak another one, the whole tournament, the whole of the group rather, could be turned on its head. And the Nigerian players just looking at each other as if to say, well, how are we going to treat these last 3 minutes? Here we go, the goal again.
It was Latunji. Latunji, the Benin midfielder, who has finally scored Benin's first goal. Now, can the Squirrels get their foot on that ball and get it in the Nigeria half? Suddenly it's Christian Chukwu, the Nigeria manager, who's looking concerned.
2-1 Nigeria lead. They were coasting, and now, well, they've got 2.5 minutes to keep the ball and keep the lead. And will they just be content to put it into the corner and eat up the clock? They have a throw in, and let's see how they treat these last 3 minutes. Coach Chukwu is ranting in the technical area. Suddenly, he knows he's got a drama on his hands.
Well, to concede a throw-in directly, sorry, to concede a goal from a throw-in like that, the defence can't have been concentrating.
Now, a long kick from the keeper. Well, content to roll it out and keep possession.
Amazingly, Chomogo was the only player forward still for Benin. They've got to commit men forward now.
As they say, Matthew, it ain't over until that fat lady sings. Into the 2nd minute of the 3.
Now, this is extraordinary. I mean, Benin are still playing with 5 defenders. It's almost as if they don't believe they can get a 2-2 draw here.
It's almost as if they believe they've lost it. Anyway, you know, that's it, game over. Well, Nigeria have a free kick, and I've no doubt they will take a considerable time to take this one.
Well, in the commentary box here, we had been lulled into a false sense of security that the game was over at 2-0 because Nigeria were dominant. They were enjoying all the possession, and Benin seemed to have let their heads drop. But in football, you never know, and Benin have got a goal back.
And that goal was our wake-up call in the commentary box.
Exactly.
Now, Nigeria, they should try and keep possession, but they've given it away. And Nigeria get it back again. Now's the time for keep ball from Nigeria. And JJ Okocha knows that. There's the long pass.
Okocha, one of the few players who can play keep ball by hitting 50-yard crossfield balls.
Benin have a free kick. There are 10 seconds remaining of the additional 3. All eyes on the referee now.
Surely they should throw some defenders forward. They're not doing that. And Nigeria look like they're going to claim this victory now.
They should take it all the way down to the corner flag. But try and get a cross in. Take it to the corner flag, my son. There we go. Yep, keeping the ball. Smart play. It's Benin's throw in.
The time's up. 3 minutes are up. And Benin, well, they've worked hard, they've given everything.
It was a great effort.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they don't look like they believe they can get this 2nd goal, but at least they have that goal to take home with them.
Well, a gallant performance, a stirring finish from Benin, but in the end, it's Nigeria winning 2-1. We thought they'd got the game wrapped up. They should have had the game wrapped up when they went 2-0 up. A bit of a very, very sloppy 2nd goal for Nigeria, a gifted goal. And then, well, they went to sleep on a long throw-in, and Benin got the goal they deserved.
But it's Nigeria who are heading to the quarterfinals. It's Benin who are heading to the airport and on their way back home to West Africa. It's finished here. Nigeria 2, Benin 1. The Super Eagles are through to the quarterfinals to face either Cameroon or Algeria.
That's a good comeback in Group D from Nigeria. Remember, they lost their first game and then they had a rout against South Africa. They thought they were going to have a similar situation against Benin, but it ended 2-1. A very, very creditable performance from the Squirrels. But the Super Eagles, they're flying high.
Absolutely. So we have to congratulate once again Benin. First of all, for their qualifying campaign. They've put Benin on the footballing map out here. And while Rwanda and Zimbabwe, the other two debutants, got victories, Benin had to settle for 3 defeats, but a gallant performance here. A gallant performance against South Africa, if a slightly disappointing one against Morocco. So it's goodbye to Benin, and Nigeria progress. From the Taïb Niri Stadium here in Sfax, it's goodbye from Canal France International. We hope to see you shortly for the quarter-finals. Bye for now.